Good evening. I'm calling the regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 to order. We are conducting our meeting remotely in compliance with the Special Public Meetings Act rules issued by Governor Inslee's emergency order. City Clerk, can you please conduct the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Figueroa,
Councilmember Figueroa present.
Councilmember Keel,
Councilmember Keel, present.
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee,
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee, present.
Councilmember McCluskey,
Councilmember McCluskey here.
Councilmember Fleming,
Councilmember Fleming here.
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington,
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington here.
and Mayor Belisi.
Mayor Belisi here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin our meeting, we have a few special rules I want to go over with everyone. First, participation in public comments and public testimony on the public hearing will be accepted by the following methods. One, written comments or testimony will continue to be accepted by email. Comments received before 5:30 p.m. deadline will be electronically provided to the City Council for their consideration. Subject to technological limitations, the Council will accept telephonic comments or testimony by calling the number listed on the agenda, 1-509-342-7253, conference ID number 949-800-377#. For members of the public who are calling in, please be advised that your call is taken in the order it is received. To ensure order, your microphone will be muted until you have been recognized to speak. You will be recognized by the last four digits of your telephone number. At that time, you will be asked to unmute your microphone by pressing *6. Secondly, for City Council members, as with our previous remote meetings, we will continue to use the round robin method in the sequence showing in the speaking and voting chart that has been provided to each of you to ensure that everyone has a chance to speak. With that, may I ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as provided?
Mayor Belisi, this is Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, and I move for approval of tonight's agenda as provided.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Keel, I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Are there any objections to the motion as presented? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, the approval of the agenda passes unanimously. This evening, we were slated to have a presentation from our newly elected Pierce County Sheriff, Ed Troyer, but I don't believe he has made it yet. Is he on?
Here. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So Sheriff, you are here. Welcome this evening. And
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are here to get a brief overview of your administration and priorities and just an introduction to our community on who their new sheriff is. So
Actually, I lived in University Place for many years, and my granddaughters and my daughter still live in University Place. I have a lot of ties to University Place because I also worked there. I was one of the first two deputies to work in University Place with Jesus Villahermosa. We were the first two that worked out of that bank little office on 44th in Bridgeport. I think they moved the building, or the building's there. So I've worked in University Place. I've lived in University Place. It's a great town and city, and my grandson and son both graduated the same year from Curtis High School. So I got a lot of ties to University Place. As far as being the new sheriff going, I'm coming into a time when, the people are demanding more from their police departments. Things are changing. What I like to tell everybody is we do a lot of things very, very well, lot better than most people, as evident of having our contract with you for so long and having all the great guys and chief and everybody working up there. And there's some things that we need to learn to do better, and there's going to be some things we're just going to need to learn to do as we move forward as an agency. I think the population demands it. Policing is going to look different, and I think we've got a really good team and good leaders in all of our contract cities that are going to help make that change occur. And we want to focus a little bit more on the social side. I stepped into this job when there's the defund the police movement and there's COVID, and I could keep on going, but I think you get the point. But we're looking forward to continuing to work with the city of University Place and supply you with your needs and continue to work in cooperation with the cities around UP, because I know they come in and help us too, and see where it takes us. And I'd love to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, we have a few moments for some very brief questions. So is there anyone on council that would like to ask Sheriff Troyer some questions? If so, please raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. Councilmember Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. So Sheriff, I just want to say two things. Congratulations, and I told you so.
Yeah, yeah, I know you did. I mean, I think that a lot of people told me so, but I'm actually very happy to be in this position right now, and having known Pierce County and grown up in Pierce County and born here my whole entire life. And this is the only department I've worked for and the only department I'm ever going to work for. And I'm looking forward to working with all of the different levels of county and city governments to improve and make things better and do what we can for our constituents and our population.
So the question I have is just, shortly, you're new in your position and stuff like that, and with all of the legislation that's going on in Olympia around reform, can you talked a little bit about it, but can you give us a little bit more detail about kind of your feeling and stance and how some of those things may or may not impact your agency?
Well, some of those bills are pretty way out there, and they're going to be watered down, or they're going to combine some, and we expect some reforms, but nothing nearly as drastic as what we're reading and hearing. Right now we do, and that's one of the things I tell people is we need to change before people make us change, whether we want to or not. And one of the things that we have going for us right now is our co-responder program, which is mental health co-workers that we've embedded in our police cars to show up to calls and deal with mental health issues, mental health pros. And we're planning on doing the same thing with human resources people and social workers to try and find ways to take care of the homeless. One of the things I like to say is we can't arrest our way out of problems. What we got to do is try and work with the nonprofits and the social agencies to bring about change and actually bring about services for people that need them. Putting the same person in jail 5 times in 2 years for the same thing obviously isn't working. And we are up for working with different social agencies, human resource agencies, even if it means bringing in mental health professionals like we already have with co-responders, but drug and alcohol counselors too, where it's needed. Our deputies and your city police officers usually are the first ones at scenes where they'll find people that are in need, people that need help. And we're going to be the first ones to identify that. Now it's time for us to be able to work with other agencies, whether they're embedded or it's a task force we can call, to come take care of the problem after we're gone, because we're just so reactive, then we move on to the next thing. But some of these type of incidents need longer term help. So if we can combine all those forces together, I think we can be very successful.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Fleming, then Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sheriff Troyer, it just has a nice ring to it. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and so excited to have you as our Pierce County Sheriff, and I truly mean that. The only question I have for you tonight, and I'm sure you get asked this question everywhere you go, but could you share with us just some of the highlights of what you see as your priorities for 2021?
Well, some of the things that we're doing right now is we're trying to make better use of our resources. And through 2021, it's no secret that like I said, we need to learn to do some things better, and we need to also learn to do some things from scratch, because there's some new initiatives that are coming. We're going to embrace those, and we're not going to fight them. We're going to work with local governments and the county to get it done, and your citizenry. And what I want to do is I want to, there's some talk out there of changing uniforms, and I was sort of for the rural deputies. We're not going to do it for the cities. And we put a poll out to see if people even want to do it. What I want to do is get us better equipped. I want to get our people better equipment. Because if they do that, we can be more successful at our jobs. You'll see a lot of training coming down that we're going to be doing. Some of the newer training has to do with intervention and recognizing problems in society. And then, like I said, we need the resources and the other agencies to take over after we're done. I'm also, hoping to build our ranks. Right now, the county council has given us 28 openings and 28 positions, and we've filled about 11 of those, and we've had 3 more retirements, so we have 19 more to go. So we're doing a lot of recruiting to get our numbers up bigger. We're working a lot with Department of Emergency Management, and we're working a lot with the chiefs organizations. So maybe we're not duplicating efforts. I mean, maybe we don't need 3 SWAT teams, and we don't need 3 sets of this or that, and we can combine resources and save money and put more money towards being out there in the street and connecting with people. So we want to take our agency and make it bigger, better, and stronger than ever. If you don't know my whole entire staff yet, I have appointed 6 new people to my staff. And if you come meet my staff, you'll see that I have 7 women, 3 people of color, and somebody who's bilingual, and there's more of that to come. And I want it to be reflective of the community, and I want the community to hold us to a higher standard and hold us to being accountable, just as we're going to hold our deputies and our first person hired. The day they're hired, we're going to hold them accountable, and we expect those people to hold us accountable all the way up through me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheriff.
Thanks, Councilmember.
Thank you. Councilmember McCluskey, followed by Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, Sheriff Troyer, congratulations. I look forward to, can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I look forward to seeing the changes in the improvements you're going to bring to the Sheriff's Department. And one thing to note with the community-oriented policing structure that university has embedded in its culture, I hope that you are encouraged by that and will continue that and improve upon that model in our contractual relationship going forward. I do like your philosophy. Thank you. I do like your philosophy of not incarcerating our problems, to identify them and create solutions, establishing associations of care with other agencies as well. And I hope one of the agencies is our fire department. They have a system of coordinated care as well, and they do have healthcare officials alongside of them. Their last cycle that went to the ballot had the funding to fund that positions as well. And so, like you were indicating, not duplicating citizens' resources, but to create and establish partnerships.
Correct.
And then the last point is that the follow-up, once you do have interactions with the citizens who are in need, how do you go about follow-up care to make sure that if they want to and are interested, as well as encouraged to get the care that is coming to fruition for them, as well as the return on our citizens' investments, that it is a really good value to provide them with the behavioral health and also health and well-being opportunities as well.
Right. Well, just today we had meetings with different people, and we're working with human resources and some other social agencies to try and put a group together to address those problems. So if there is a problem, like I said, we can call them and there would be follow-up. Say somebody's living in their house and they are living in terrible conditions. Just because they're not homeless living in a tent, they still probably may not be living in safe conditions, that we can address that by having people to go do follow-up and get them services or get them counseling or get them whatever they need. And we are actually today setting up meetings with different social agencies and nonprofits and human resources to start that, put that into motion. So that's something that I'm looking forward to coming back in 3 months from now and having a plan and having it ready to go to present to all the councils and the county council as we come into our biennium budget cycle and say, you know what, we want these 20 people, but you know what, let's maybe take some of the resources instead of giving me 50 deputies, because I know that's not going to happen, but let's put 5 or 6 civilian people over here and see if they can go out and take care of people that we discover in the field to get them the help they need. And I expect to have a plan to put together within 3 months to make that happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate your time and look forward to your exciting adventure in your new career path as the sheriff. Take care.
Yeah, well, we're all in this together and we're better together. So that's, you guys got a great chief, you know, and Chief Primo up there, and I will be in contact with him and anything that he needs, you know, extra, if you have a problem brewing and he needs help, or if he needs our community support team, or if he needs any of our other teams to take care of the problem, because not all of our teams are law enforcement centric where they're going to go out and put people in jail. We clean up properties. We do a lot of different things. And I want other people to be able to take advantage of those to stop problems before they get too big.
Okay. Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you,
have
Mayor.
final comments.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Chief Troyer and Sheriff Troyer. So my two questions would be, what is the number one crime in Pierce County? And what is the number one illegal drug in Pierce County? And what do you plan to do to address those two?
Well, the number one crime right now, unfortunately, is property crimes, because, you know, usually our jail holds about 12 to 1,300 people, and we're down to about just right around 600, just a little bit below 600. And of those, 94% are felons that need to be there. We really can't let any more people out, because these are people that need to be in jail. They're pending serious trials and people where they've created bodily harm. But by doing that, we've let a lot of low-level property crime people out. And you know how they make their living, by stealing. So I'm sure part of your frustration is you're getting a lot of complaints from citizens on property crime. So that's our main goal, when we can get back to taking care of that problem. But unfortunately, right now, the prosecutor's office isn't able to charge those cases, and a lot of the courts are closed. So we're not able to run arraignments or charging, and with COVID, we don't have room in the jail. So these people are starting to learn that even if we catch them, we're basically doing police reports and releasing them. In fact, I know some of our guys have driven them way home to their house, back to mom and dad. That way they know at least they're in for the night, not out causing more havoc. And these are a lot of people that should be going to jail because they're felony property crimes and stealing cars. And unfortunately, right now, because of that trifecta, the courts being closed, the prosecutor's office being backed up, and COVID, we're not able to book them. But we are making exceptions if somebody's bad and the chief, and they call at night and say, this guy really needs to go to jail. He's a prolific burglar and he steals every single night. Then we will take him, we will put him in jail and run him through the system, see if that helps. As far as the drugs go, right now, the bad drug is heroin. And the reason why heroin and it's opiates like that are causing problems, because it's causing a lot of overdoses and deaths. And it's really, really bad in King County. The numbers have tripled, and it's starting to creep down here. Ever since the legalization of drugs in Seattle, you know, they've legalized drugs in Seattle, but you know what? They're not giving the drugs away for free. They're not supplying money to buy the drugs. So it's bringing in drug dealers to supply these drugs. And the people are still stealing and doing other things and committing robberies to finance the drugs. So that's definitely not the issue. I mean, that's definitely not the answer. That is the issue. And unfortunately, we're seeing people that were on pain medications and OxyContin and those type of drugs, when they get off of those, or they can no longer get the prescriptions, they're switching to heroin. And unfortunately, we're finding a lot of overdoses of very younger people and others. And so right now, what we're going to do about that is we're getting ready in the next 4 to 5 weeks to stand our investigative unit back up with 10 members in a narcotics unit. And they'll, instead of focusing on the big halls or whatever, I want them to focus on possibly where the street drugs are being sold and bought, and the people that are buying and selling them and dying of overdoses and are the same ones that are out committing the property crimes. So I think if we start there, we can actually make a big difference.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sheriff Troyer. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here tonight and talking with our council and with our community. And I look forward to further engagement, and hopefully when things open up, we can meet in person and
Absolutely.
congratulate you officially with a handshake, something that's quite foreign to us at this time.
Well, I'll look forward to it, and I'm available if anybody needs me. Obviously, you got a great chief there that handles it, and if he needs any help from our department to help what he's got going on, then we're there to support you.
All right. Well, thank you
All right,
again
thank you.
for showing up this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This evening, we were to have an introduction of the new Colonel, the 16th Cab Commander, Colonel Fennison. Unfortunately, he is unable to make it tonight. I understand he got delayed with his return flight. And so we will be rescheduling him. But in the meantime, I'd like to say hi to Sergeant Reed, who I believe is just sitting in to kind of guess as to how we treat our presenters and our guests this evening. So thank you, Sergeant Reed, for showing up this evening. And we look forward to talking to Colonel Fennison in person and introducing him to the community at a date that is convenient and when he's available. So we will be in touch, I'm sure, with you. Yeah.
They got caught up, I think it's with all of the winter weather throughout the U.S. It seems. They were on a mission to Fort Riley, Kansas, and things just didn't go. And with us being aviation, I guess, they know more about weather and what's safe to fly, and they just didn't get the okay to fly at the time they were supposed to. So he and Command Sergeant Major Perez, they do regret not being here, and they just wanted me to let you all know that, and they do plan to be here on the 1st if everything goes the way it's supposed to go. So they just wanted me to rely that, y'all.
All right. Well, we will put him on the agenda, and if something should happen to change and he gets reassigned to something more important, just let us know. But we look forward to meeting him and to introducing him to council and to our community. So yes. Thank you again for being here this evening.
No problem. You all have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. The final presentation this evening is a proclamation, and I have to fall on my sword and fully apologize for not having read this proclamation into the record at the beginning of February. It was truly an oversight on my part for not making sure that we had this proclamation in place. It's a proclamation and celebration of Black History Month. And so with that, I will read the proclamation. Whereas Black History Month affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable with Black heritage and to honor the many Black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation. And whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all our citizens regarding the issues of human rights, the great strides that have been made in the crusade to eliminate the barriers of equality for minority groups, and the continuing struggle against racial discrimination. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of University Place urge the citizens of our community to join in making this period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all people, proclaimed by the City Council of the City of University Place, Washington on February 16th, 2021. Unfortunately, with COVID, I seem to forget one month becomes the same as the next, and I should have known that, so I apologize again for that oversight. At this time, we are at the public comment section of our agenda. We did not receive any public comments via email, nor do I believe that we have any public on our call this evening. So we will move on to our next item, which is the consent agenda. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Mayor Belisi, this is Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, and I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Keel, I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Are there any objections to the motion as presented? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, the approval of the consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you. At this time, we are at our public hearing for the Stormwater Management Program update. With that public hearing, I'd like to call Mr. Jack Eklund to turn on his screen and present the staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I'm Jack Eklund, Director of Engineering, and also I have with me Todd Smith, our NPS Coordinator, and tonight we're bringing to you for public hearing the annual update to the city's surface water management program, or a stormwater management program. As a condition, this is a program that we have a condition as our national NPDES, which is National Pollution Detection and Elimination System municipal permit. We are required to develop, implement, and annually update our stormwater management program. This program lists the components that are required to be addressed under our NPDES permit and identifies the actions and activities to be conducted by the city in order to meet our permit requirements. This program was brought before City Council for study on the February 1st council meeting and also has been posted on the city's website for public viewing and comment since February 1st. The changes in this year's update are very minor and really consist of updating the dates as well as removing references to milestones and deadlines that have already been completed in our past years. That concludes our report, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, this is a public hearing. We did not receive any public comment via email, nor do we have any individuals on our call at this time. So therefore, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this meeting. Council, we are under council consideration. Before we go to a motion for it, are there any questions regarding the stormwater management program? We did previously study this at our last meeting. So are there any council questions regarding the report? Okay, not seeing any. May I have a motion for consideration?
Mayor Belisi, this is Mayor Pro Tem Worthington again, and I would like to move for the adoption of the Stormwater Management Program update.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second, Councilmember Keel.
Okay. All right, I have a first and a second. Any comments regarding this update, this program? Councilmember Keel.
Great, thank you, Mayor. I just want to put into the record that, you know, in case someone's never seen this before, I mean, this is something we do every year, and we're pretty good at this, I think, as a council, and we understand a lot, and with hardly any changes at all, just some minor editorial changes. That's why if the public ever views this, or and I know there's not anybody here, or if they look at the tape and there's nothing happening here, is that it's pretty routine for us, and so that's why there's little comment.
You are correct, Councilmember Keel. Any other comments or questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. City Clerk, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Councilmember Figueroa,
Councilmember Figueroa, yay.
Councilmember Keel,
Councilmember Keel, aye.
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee,
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee, yes.
Councilmember McCluskey,
Councilmember McCluskey, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Fleming,
Councilmember Fleming, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington,
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, aye.
Mayor Belisi.
Mayor Belisi, aye.
The motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Eklund and Mr. Smith. At this time, we are at the portion of our city manager council comments and reports. I would like to ask our city manager, Steve Sugg, for his manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Two items for tonight's city manager's report. One is going to be on the storm response, and the second one I wanted to just give you a quick briefing about an article on property taxes that's coming out in Wednesday's headline newsletter. First of all, the storm response. Now, it's not every meeting that I give you a response to the latest storm, but this one happened to be an unusual snowstorm. We don't get that many in this area, and sometimes many years go by and one comes along and it's worth noting. This one produced close to a foot of snow, 11 inches or so. But what's important to know about this in University Place is that long before the first flakes fell, our public works crews were busy preparing for the area's recent snow. We started preparations 3 days prior to the impending snow event by treating the roads with salt brine and anti-icing liquid. And this was Public Works Director Gary Cooper's strategy, and it seemed to have performed quite well. With the pre-snow preparations complete, the city had crews on hand early Friday evening, beginning at 7 p.m. And if you recall, it was about that time that this first flake started to fall. They plowed the streets, deployed additional salt to UP's arterial streets. They worked around the clock, and then through the weekend, and then they finally parked the last plow at 4 a.m. on Monday morning. A few hours later, I gave Gary a call, and he was still recovering from that day. So in total, the department logged more than 310 hours, deployed 170 tons of sand and 77,500 gallons of anti-icing liquid. Director Cooper said the crews are now busy cleaning and performing maintenance on the equipment that was used, and they're making preparations to replenish stockpiles and supplies so they'll be ready for the next weather event. And we hope it's another year before the next snow, but if not, we're ready. We want to be ready. So apparently the ground Punxsutawney Phil back in Pennsylvania says that there was plenty of winter left, so we should be prepared. So now let me move on to property taxes. So in this Wednesday, we're going to be sending out, releasing the electronic headline newsletter that we do every 2 weeks. And we're going to have an update on article on property taxes, because later this month, the county will be mailing out the new property tax information to all households. So when they get their bill, they may not notice, but in the details, you'll be able to find that your city of University Place property tax rate is the lowest that it's ever been. So, it started out back in 1995, we were at $2.10 per $1,000 of assessed value. Currently, we're at 88 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So it's been declining over the decades, and now we're been less than a buck for for the past 2 years. We were 97 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. We're now at 88 cents. So what does this all mean? Well, the reason is you may not notice the decline in the city's property tax rate is because the portion of your property tax bill goes to the city is just a small portion of the total bill. And I'm going to see if, I don't know if we have that. Here we go. Thank you, Amanda. You'll notice that, I think it seemed like too long ago, it was 8 or 9 cents. It's now down to 7 cents. And if you look at the portion of the property tax bill of the dollar bill that goes to the University Place, it's a very small portion when you look at the other jurisdictions. And there's all kinds of reasons for those. Obviously, the need for funding schools and fire and EMS and state and county and the library district and the flood control district and the port and so forth. Our small chunk is 7 cents. Now, what most people are asking about, where does this go? And we try to remind folks that all property taxes paid are dedicated to the city's police and public safety expenses, 100%. And that was a decision done almost a decade ago by this council. Now, on the bill, you'll notice that the average University Place home value has increased by 8.75%, but the city's tax on the average home is actually decreased by 1.34%. So this gets, the math gets a little confusing in Washington State, the way property taxes are calculated. If you see the value of if your home is increased by more than 10%, you may see a slight increase in your city property tax bill, but overall, your tax for your tax bill, you may see a modest increase in taxes. For the average home, this means an increase of 3.86%. So let me just summarize on the property tax, because I want to talk about a few other taxes. The city's property tax on an average home has increased over the past year on average about over the last 25 years, only about 1.23% a year for the past 25 years. Substantially less than the rate of inflation and substantially less than other jurisdictions to whom we pay taxes, getting back to the dollar bill I just talked about. Other taxes and fees. And the city has also instituted a couple of other changes to city taxes and fees for 2021. Specifically, the council back in the fall approved a decrease in the transportation benefit district fee, which is included on your vehicle license tab renewal. So it's a separate bill than the property tax bill, but the council did reduce that fee. It was $35 a year. It's been reduced down to $10 a year for the next 5 years. The city council also approved a 6% utility tax on Tacoma Public Utilities and Pierce County sewers operations in the city, matching the tax rate paid by the private sector utility providers in the city. 3% of the tax will begin in April of 2021, with the other half of the tax being implemented in April of 2022. While this tax is on the utility providers, the utilities have the right to pass this tax along to their customers. We estimate that the net effect of the decrease in property taxes that I talked about just earlier and the decrease in the vehicle license fee, when combined with the utility tax, will mean that the average homeowner with 2 vehicles will pay the city only $1.02 more per month in 2021 than they did in 2020. So that is the summary statement I wanted to make about taxes. The full article on this with more charts and graphs than we have time for will be in the Wednesday newsletter article, but I just wanted to give you a quick briefing, Council, for in anticipation of that release of that article. And with that, Mayor and members of the Council, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sugg. Now we're on to council comments and report outs. Council Member Figueroa, do you have any comments or report outs at this time?
I have a comment, and this is primarily for our city manager, Mr. Sugg. And in the presentation and Q&A with Sheriff Troyer, I asked him about the #1 crime and the #1 illegal drug that's really impacting Pierce County, which we're very much part of that. And I assume when he talked about both, that UP is very much impacted by those two being also the #1 drug and #1 crime. So with that, I was thinking that that it would be nice if we had some kind of a public announcement of some sort through our website, through our newsletter, any kind of a shout out. I don't know what kind of a public relations format you may be able to create. You know how Inslee told the whole world, the whole state of Washington, that if they catch a business open when they're not supposed to because they're supposed to be closed, to call in this number and report them. And so I think that when it comes to this number one property crime and this number one illegal drug, heroin, which both impact our city, and it impacts our use of our services, fire district services, our police, and other things that impact our city, that if there's a way that we can educate, inform the public about how to fight those crimes, how to fight that illicit drug by reporting or whatever else. I'm not sure. I don't want to brainstorm now, but certainly something that it would be nice that for our city to take a forward step and lean into doing something that may help all of us. So that's just a comment, and I don't expect you to, but that's something I'd like to just put on the table. Hopefully you might take it to heart.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Councilmember Keel, any comments or report outs at this time?
Councilmember Keel, nothing from me today.
Okay. Councilmember Pro Tem Lee.
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee, I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to also thank Gary Cooper and his Public Works crew from doing a fantastic job clearing the streets. And I did not drive, I walked around, very long walks, and it was nice to see other people out as well and to see the streets clear and safe for our citizens. So much appreciated note on that. A very proud moment for me as a council member. I'm sure all our other council members as well. The other comment I just would like to say is that UP schools are opening up. They invited the kindergartens and first graders back to school, and they are very, what I'll call COVID sensitive, in every movement, breath that these students take to ensure not only the safety of the students, but also the staff and the surrounding environment. So that is pretty much in the forefront of their minds, and then education is second. Health and safety first, and then education. Because I am sure they do not want to have one outbreak that will push everyone back. But it is a kind of refreshing note, kind of uplifting to hear the students are returning. In March, the second graders will arrive, and then so on and so forth with the other grade levels arriving as well. So, they're playing it to see how it goes and opening up the doors a little bit more to bring normalcy into our young citizens so that they can have some joy and some social activities, even though it's going to be constrained, but at least they can see each other's eyes and feel each other's spirits, and also enhance their learning environment as well. So with that, I will close my comments.
Okay. Councilmember Fleming, any comments or report outs?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be very brief, but like Councilmember McCloskey, I too was out during the wonderful snow we just had walking. As I said before the council meeting, had the opportunity to experience firsthand our public works folks out there clearing the roads, and they did do a stupendous job. Really, it is a proud moment. They did a great job keeping those roads open for the public, and thank them for their work, and especially the work that Gary, I was shocked pleasantly when I saw our snowplow go by, and then he stopped, and I wanted to go over and thank the crew for clearing the road, and it turned out to be our public works director out there driving the snowplow himself, clearing those roads. So it was pretty impressive. So thank you. Job well done.
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, any comments or report outs?
Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, yes, just briefly as well, which, and a lot of that is also to thank the Public Works crew. I think it was an excellent job in addition to our other council members, and I really appreciated that. Challenging time, but they were up to it, met the challenge well, and thank them for that. Good job, Gary and team. Also, I appreciated hearing the details of our of the tax information. As it happened, I got my tax statement on property taxes in my mailbox today, so how timely. It does illustrate how the city's property tax has really been very constrained in a certain respect. It hasn't grown by much at 1 or less than 2% per year over the last decade or two. Working in the city council, as we all do, we know what a challenge that is in the budget. But at the same time, from the citizens' perspective, they can see that our growth in taxation is really quite limited overall. Beyond that, I hope everybody had a good President's Day weekend, and I know we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Well, I do have a few report outs, as I promised you earlier before our meeting started, lengthy report out. I just wanted to let you know that last Monday, February 8th, the Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Sugg and Marisa Craig were on a Zoom call with Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland. She invited us to a quick call to kind of find out a little bit about our priorities and to kind of introduce herself to staff. As everyone knows, she was sworn in to office on January 3rd of this year for her first term as a representative. And she was pleased to announce that she will be serving on the House Committee on Armed Services alongside Chairman Adam Smith, and she's also been assigned to a subcommittee on military personnel and the subcommittee on readiness. She is also serving on transportation and infrastructure, which came in very handy. That is the subcommittee that deals with highways and transit and all the infrastructure within the United States. Because one of the main talking points that we managed to let her know about was the fact that we have 2 bridges in the city of University Place that are in dire need of some work and also dire need of funding. So we put that bug in her ear. The first being the Day Island Bridge. As those of you that travel that bridge on a regular basis know, that bridge is in dire need of not retrofitting, but of total replacement. It was built in the 1940s and it doesn't meet earthquake standards. So an absolute new bridge needs to be built. However, the cost of that in today's dollars is $25 million. And of course, before we can do that, there needs to be an extensive engineering study done. So we let her know of the need for getting some federal monies for transportation and infrastructure into the city of University Place to take care of that need. The other bridge is one that we co-own with the county, and that's the Chambers Creek Bridge that is currently on a load restricted bridge because it is also in dire need of replacement. And so that would be a need for a joint venture with the county to get that replacement done to the tune of, in today's dollars, $15 million. And as we all know, sitting on council, we just don't have that kind of money in our coffers to do that kind of replacement and really do need some assistance from outside sources. So hopefully, having had that talk with Congresswoman Strickland and putting that bug in her ear, she will remember the needs as they start doing their allocations for transportation and infrastructure. But it was real nice to see her and to congratulate her on her new assignment. On the 11th of February, The city manager, Steve Sugg, and I attended a virtual meeting with county leaders, including Executive Bruce Danmeyer, on street racing. He is championing to have all jurisdictions within Pierce County to take a concerted one overall arching view of street racing, and basically to make sure that we all have our regulations in place, and that our various police forces, et cetera, attack this in a joint effort. It seems that street racing is being pushed out of King County and is starting to appear in more vim and vigor here in Pierce County. So before it becomes too big of an issue, he wants to make sure that we get on top of it and ahead of the game. So I know that Mr. Sugg made extensive notes about it, and we will be looking at city regulations in regards to street racing and what we might be able to do to discourage and enforce the sense of no street racing in the city of UP, and working with our surrounding jurisdictions. So we will be hearing more, and we will have some opportunity to discuss and look at our regulations as that goes on. I sent all of you an email, I believe it was yesterday, with all the notes from the retreat, along with the priorities that you had provided to myself and the Mayor Pro Tem prior, that kind of set this retreat up. I'm requesting that you each view those documents, and if you have any feedback or comments that you would like to make on that, what you see as priorities or what you would like to tackle or set up for goals, I'd sure appreciate hearing some feedback from you within the next week or two as we move forward in scheduling some of these items for future meetings. And then just a reminder that Councilmember Lee and Councilmember Fleming and I will be scheduling some interviews for commission appointments, hopefully within the next week. We have some openings on our Public Safety and our Parks Commission. So I'm just letting these two know so that they can keep their eye out for the team's meeting on that, should be coming. So with that, that was all my comments and report outs. So with that, our next item on the agenda is our final agenda item, and that is the CERC Drive speed limit discussion or study session. May I have our Director of Engineering, Jack Eklund, to come back again for the evening. This is your evening. You've been here twice already.
Exciting. All right. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I'm bringing to you for study proposed speed limit reduction to CERC Drive down to 30 miles an hour between 83rd Avenue and Grandview Drive. I do have a map that might be helpful in this discussion. So if we could get that brought up, that'd be great. Okay, so one thing I do want to note on this map, there are the speeds shown on here are reflective of prior to our roadway construction project that is currently almost nearing completion, but it gives you an idea. And this was kind of a little bit of background and orientation of where we're at. The different colored segments here, these areas here in light blue and that orange, those are the areas that were, let's see, I don't know if we can make that larger or not. We might be able to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. If we could zoom out just slightly. And that's about as good as we might be able to get. But this area up here, the northern part, was the segment that back in not that long ago, 2018, we reduced the speed limit in that section down to 30 miles an hour. At that time, it was decided to maintain the speed limit west of that as it was until the completion of our upcoming project, which we're now nearing completion. And just to kind of look at this black area, that's that big area down the hill. And then this green area is the twisty portion, which at that time already had an advisory speed of 30 miles an hour. So it wasn't a formal speed limit, but an advisory speed. So, and then we did, during the construction project, this portion, the black and the green, was temporarily reduced down to 30 miles an hour in order, to protect the safety of both the workers and the traveling public. Since that time that we had reduced the speed limit temporarily, we have received several requests from residents to maintain this lower speed limit after completion of the project. And we probably can, I don't know if the map is helpful anymore or not, but we could take it off probably. Anyway, but now we are nearing the completion of the project, and with the project we have installation of quite a few new pedestrian amenities with the new sidewalks, new crosswalks, and as a result we are seeing kind of the predicted, and thankfully it's what we are gearing, aiming for, but we are seeing quite a bit more pedestrian activity up and down the street. And with that increased activity, the engineering department is recommending that we make the speed limit reduction of down to 30 miles an hour an official change. With that, I'm happy to open the door to any questions.
Okay. I will go through the voting chart at this time. Councilmember Figueroa, do you have any questions or comments?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Keel.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Jack, I remember the conversation we had before, and it seemed to me it was staff's recommendation to move it down to 30, but the thought then was, well, let me back up. We had this conversation before, and it was, should we reduce it to 30? And staff's recommendation was no, because there was no sidewalk and curb, and something about when we get sidewalk and curb, it kind of, I can't remember the term you used, but it was makes it more park-like, or it requires, because of walking and all that it's more conducive of a 30-mile-an-hour zone, versus without it, it was kind of not that. And so my thought was, once we got the sidewalk and curb, that we would be moving it down to 30. So you don't have any pushback from me on that.
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee, any comments or questions?
Councilmember Pro Tem Lee, I drive that route most every day to and from the Steilacoom Dog Park, and quite frankly, 30 miles an hour is just fine. I don't see any reason to increase the speed limit there at all. Thank you.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I've been itching for this to happen for a long time, and I'm glad that the infrastructure is in place to justify that reduction in speed, but also for the safety of the increase in our pedestrian traffic that will be along the way. It just totally makes sense. You go 30, 35, then back to 30. So just make it consistent all the way through. And with your graph that you presented, with the 35 miles an hour, 85% of the cars, or the vehicles, went over 40 miles an hour when they're approaching a curve. With the reduction to 30, that just seems like accidents waiting to happen there. So I am encouraged, and I will, as you know, definitely support the codifying of this reduction in speed. So thank you for your presentation.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Worthington.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And yes, Mayor Pro Tem Worthington, I have a question for you, Jack, and excuse me for not giving you a heads up on this one. But so I'm remembering a while back a conversation in which the difference between 30 miles an hour and 35 miles an hour, that 5 mile an hour difference, is quite significant in terms of how a car would hit an inanimate object. The laws of physics are significant, and you end up with more damage both to vehicles and actually much more deadly force in the case of a pedestrian strike. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And especially with pedestrians, I believe it's close to a 50% increase in serious injury between 30 and 35 mile an hour of a collision with a car and a pedestrian. So it's pretty significant for sure.
Yeah, so there really is a safety issue there, and by bringing that speed down, we can save the potential of a pedestrian car accident as being, well, cut it in half essentially in terms of its potential damage. A significant savings that, and the road is now appropriate for that sort of change. So, well, thank you.
Okay. My comments are this CERT looks absolutely fantastic. The contractors did a fabulous job. And because of the job they did, putting in those sidewalks and curbs and gutters and the trees, there is a natural tendency to want to drive slower anyway. And I do think it makes sense to have the same speed limit on that street from beginning to end, particularly from Bridgeport to Grandview. You're going to, hopefully people will observe that speed limit sign. I mean, that's the intention of having those speed limit signs there, but I think we do need to make sure that we have some consistent speeds throughout there. So I look forward to having this move forward for council consideration to make this a permanent thing. It sounds like we have a consensus here to move it forward. Are there any additional comments or questions at this time regarding this matter? Okay, so expect to see it on an upcoming agenda or upcoming meeting for our consideration. Yes, Councilmember Figueroa, did you have a question or comment? You're muted, sir.
Yes, can this be put on the consent agenda?
I think so. It does need to have a change to a code, but I don't think there'd be any reason it couldn't be on it. It's just a pretty minor text change on one of the codes, so it should be.
It's a code change.
Okay, so it would be nice if it was just in the consent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
we try and put as much on consent that we can that's code related. I see we awoke our attorney Matt Kaiser up, so I'm assuming he has some comments to make. Mr. Kaiser.
I was just gonna say, by the time I got everything fired up, the answer is yes. You can put an ordinance such as this on the consent agenda.
Yes. Yeah, so we will be making it short and sweet. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Eklund. It does not appear that we have any other comments or questions at this time regarding this issue. So with that, I want to give you guys the rest of your evening back, and I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.